Hello team, so here's a updated version of our underwriting, so called this version 2.1. And some of the notable changes are now we can parse PDFs for both rent rolls and T12s. And then second is you can classify the T12 so that you have certainty that your classification is correct. And then finally, we have added a bunch of advanced features that you can plan your pro forma rents correctly. So let's get into it. First, I'm going to do a ring trade apartments, okay? And I'm going to call it $10 million, but it could be any price because you can change it. Over here, I'm going to upload some photos. I'm just going to upload some random photos here, okay? Like this. Okay. So these are just placeholder photos. Let me go inside here. Okay. The first thing is I'm going to upload my rent roll. So upload rent roll. And I'm going to take this PDF called Rain Tree Apartments. Download this thing over. Okay. Click on next. All right. Now I'm going to drag and drop this over. So I'm going to upload. So let's observe this. There are 34 units. These are the units, these are the square footage. There's no unit type. So when there's no unit type, we basically do a pivot table on the unit square footage. Okay. All right. So this is already parsed. You can see that 550 square footage, 950 squares. There are only 2 unit types. Okay. So we are smart enough to do that. That's really, really cool. And if you go into each of the units, if you click into 101, you can see that 101 is this unit type. This is the market rent. Let's scroll up. This is the market rent. This is the actual rent. This is the actual rent. Deposit, upgraded, vacant. Move-in day is moving day is this one. I don't know why this is a moving day of this amount, and then lease expiration is July of 2021. So expiration is this one, and then moving day is this one. So it is correctly doing that, but no idea why moving day is back into the future. Oh, actually, that's correct. This is 2018. I read it wrong. I thought it's 2028. Okay, so that's actually correct. Cool. Right, then you can obviously look at insights. Mostly 550 square footage and only a few, that's 950. The leases when they expire, so that's really cool. And the unit mix gets computed automatically. The misconception here is that the pro forma rent stays put. The pro forma rent is just the first pass. All we're doing is we're taking the maximum rent from the unit mix, from the rent roll, but you can change it to however you like. This is just the first pass, right? But this is a pretty good increase. Okay, so that's that. Let me come back to this in a second, but let me go ahead and upload the T12. By the way, if it's a $31,000, usually $31,000 is about that's maybe about $3 million of purchase price. Okay, so that's $3 million of purchase price. Okay, so let's do that. $3 million of purchase price. All right, let's go into T12. So I'm gonna upload the T12. So I'm gonna download this thing over here. Okay, this is the T12. Drag and drop the T12 over. Okay. All right, I'm gonna click on next. And so this also takes about a couple minutes to process. And then let me open this up. So you can see that this is like all over the place. This is just, it's actually upside down, okay? So this is what that looks like. Okay, this is your T12. And the first row is gonna be income, rent, concessions, expenses, and so on and so forth, right? So here is the biggest change from the last version, which is that we, first we parse the PDF into Excel, and we give you this modeling of what we have gathered. We are telling you that row number 2 of the parse Excel is the rent income. Okay, so this is the rent income, which is correct. Okay, and the rent is 2,300, and so 2,300, that's correct. Second month is 24,500. That's also correct. The total is 294. Okay, the total is 294. And the AI already knows that these are my rental incomes. And so this column is a classification. This is saying that AI is classifying each row at this point. And we also know that what rows not to classify. Specifically, we're not classifying net rental income, because if we were to classify this row as also a net rental income, then it will be double counting. It's counting the income and it's counting the subtotal. So we shouldn't do that. And it's correctly not doing that. Okay. So right now, the user is basically going through this to make sure the classification is correct. So that's rental income. This is other income. Okay, actually, this is you can call this other income. Yeah, this is also other income. That's correct. Okay, this is actually all correct. Now you can say that pass-through water sewer is actually not other income. It might actually just be rental income. But that's up to you. To how you classify it. All you have to do is you double click and you can reclassify it. I classify as other income. This is repairs and maintenance. That's all correct. This is management fee. This is insurance. But this is security and alarm. It's not insurance. This is more like contract services. Okay. So we give you the peace of mind that whatever you classify is actually correct, like what you want it to be. Okay. Then this is property tax. This is utilities. This is repair and the pest control. This is more like contract services, in my opinion. Okay, this is contract services. This is cable, internet. This is trash, and then journal admin. This is miscellaneous. That's fine. Lease payroll expense. I believe that this is more like payroll. Yeah, so this is payroll. This is miscellaneous. That's fine. This is journal admin. That's right. Depreciation. I don't usually count depreciation and amortization, so I'm not even gonna count those. So I'm just gonna do this, and I'm gonna remove it because those are two things I don't need to count. Now, if you want to count them, go for it, right? So that's how I will underwrite this deal. All right, go ahead. So I can save, or I can save and generate. So I'm gonna save and generate. That will generate my income and my expenses. All right. So if I go to expenses here, that's my T12. This is my pro forma. My pro forma is a lot higher because it was using whatever per unit that I was using. So the repairs and maintenance, I have $400 per unit. It's actually more like $160. Income is 3%. Sounds about right. This contract services, I have maybe it should be $200 per unit. Insurance is about $700. And then property tax, I use 2.44% of the purchase price, which came out to be a lot more expensive. This property is in the state of Washington, so it's like 1% is more than enough. In fact, 0.5% of the purchase price is more than enough, maybe 0.7%. Utilities, I will do $1,000 per unit. That's fine, cool. And then trash is about $250 per unit. Okay, and then general admin maybe about $100 per unit, and then payroll in this case is much less expensive, about $230 per unit. Okay, once I save it, you can see my IRR is 14%, my total return is 87%. Entry cap rate is this one. Obviously, in the you can do all the finances as well, so I'm gonna skip that over. But the biggest change we have made is that you can now classify the T12. That gives you certainty that these are the numbers that go into your expenses and income, which is really nice. Okay. We also have added the GPLP returns, so you can look at the projections. So, for example, this is LP cash and cash percentage. So that's really, really nice. Okay. And then finally, when you look into the summary, this is what the summary, this is on a $100,000 investment. This is what they get. And then if I export this thing, it will have your logo on it. And then it will have all the numbers. And then at the bottom, you will have the images that we just uploaded. Okay. A lot of our customers actually go to the documents and then upload any due diligence or checklists or term sheets and so on and so forth. So that's very helpful. And then finally, obviously, we have the sensitivity analysis, which is a function of what happens to your cap rate, what happens to your equity multiple as a function of exit cap rate. Similarly for rent roll, similarly for this chart, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, let's look at modeling. This is the last thing we're going to look at. So we are growing at 3% year over year in terms of rent. There's a 12% economic vacancy. And then it takes about 1 year to force this appreciation over the course of 1 year. Okay. So at the bottom, there are like expense increases and so on. If I click on this, it will take me to the place where I can edit this. So this is the 3.23% rental increase. Here is where it gets really advanced. If you turn on this advanced mode, you actually have these new things: frequency, development period, lease up, vacancy. Okay, I'm gonna save it. The default is it takes about 12 months to get to this pro forma rent. Okay, now you can do it as 24 months. Okay, you can do it as 24 months, and so it will take 24 months for this unit to get to their pro forma rent, which is really cool. Now here's another trick: if you right click, there is this thing called fill down. Okay, so it will basically fill down this 24 down this row, down this column. Okay, so that's a really nice UI shortcut. Okay, so I'm gonna take 2 years to renovate such that I can get to my pro forma rent. You can do that. You can actually do that. Okay, so that's that. Some people actually have built to rent. So they're building it for 12 months, and then they are then doing the lease up period. So the development period is basically, this is not a development deal, but if you do have a development deal, then you can say, this is a unit that is generating 0 as my current rent. After 12 months of development, and I'm going to lease it out over the course of 6 months. You can do that as well. The last thing you can do is, say you have an Airbnb and the frequency of rent is actually daily rent, or say you have an industrial and the frequency of the rent is yearly rent. You can also do that, and you just apply a different vacancy for different units. Maybe Airbnb has a daily rent and the vacancy is 30% because most of the Airbnb units are 30% vacant. Right. And finally, a lot of some customers actually use it for hotels. So the hotels, instead of a unit type, you just have January, February, and so on and so forth. And then this is monthly, and the vacancy, depending on which month it is, the vacancy is slightly different. Maybe July and June are much higher occupancy, thus lower vacancy than January and say September. All right, so that's that. And then you can put in notes. All right, cool. So that is a very comprehensive underwriting tool now. And as you can see, to summarize, we can parse T12s. We have this advanced mode that helps you track when the rents will get to the pro forma. We have sensitivity analysis. We have GPLP returns. You can see the entire modeling. You have these very nice shortcuts of saying that, hey, take this 12% economic vacancy and then filter to the right, filter to the left, and so on. So feels like a spreadsheet. And then most importantly, we give you the certainty that our underwriting is correct because you can classify the underlying T12. All right, thanks again for watching and have a nice day. Bye-bye.